Hi, welcome to Now It's Legal podcast, where we break down NIL deals and talk to college athletes, and we talk to entrepreneurs. But today we have Michelle Montaine. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm honored to be on the pod.
I'm excited you're here. You've excelled in your career. You've absolutely taken just by storm. It seems like one day you were working for Oklahoma and Tulsa, and the next day you were at the NBA Finals for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, I'm just, so proud of you. But first of all, your style, you're sleek, your outfit always works. Where do you grab that from? Like, it seems like you always got it going on.
You know, I appreciate you saying that because growing up, I would always be ragged on because, like, I wasn't always wearing the trendiest stuff, and people would, like, joke that I had no fashion sense. And so it's interesting, like, being in sports reporting, there's a fine line between being cute and trendy, but also being like professional and taken seriously. You can't be wearing anything too short, stuff like that. So I think a lot of female sports reporters will tell you, like, there's a lot that goes into figuring out your outfit for events. And it has to be practical too. Like, sometimes you're in the elements when it's wet and cold and you got to dress according to that. And then you're like in South Texas in 100+ degree summer weather. You got to dress for that. Where does it come from? I don't know. Like,
did you ever steal from, like, other Instagram?
100%.
Yeah, has
100%. The whole, like, trend of girls linking their outfits, I was all about that. Click, buy, receive, use.
Yes, thank you for that trend, right?
Yeah.
Leave it up to Michelle to capitalize on something like that. You're from San Antonio.
Yes.
Can you tell me about, the upbringing in San Antonio and just kind of who plays a role in Michelle's life?
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I was from San Antonio, went to school in Austin, moved to Dallas. I've spent, like, most of my post-college life in Dallas, I think. And being, like, in those two cities, people kind of rag on San Antonio. Like, if you're not from San Antonio in the state of Texas, people are like, oh, San Antonio. Yeah. I absolutely loved growing up there.
Sure.
And it's funny now because a lot of my friends who I went to high school, elementary, middle school, and high school with are now, like, moving back there. And it really is just such a fun place to grow up because I feel like people there are really down to earth. Like, I feel like it really made me kind of who I am, just outgoing and, like, nice to I hope
nice
people think
everyone.
this, but nice to everyone. Yeah. No real, like, I don't know, attitude or, like, better than other people perspective. I feel like that really came from growing up there.
Absolutely. I love San Antonio era. You have the Riverwalk, and you have so much history, and do you remember the Alamo and all of that stuff like that? And you guys got Victor Wembanyama there now, so I mean, there's even just more eyes on San Antonio than there really has ever been, and even with Greg Popovich and just the whole multiple decades of just
dominance.
Outright winning.
Yeah,
dominance, exactly. Is there anything growing up in San Antonio that sticks out to you, like remembering sports or anything like that?
I played every sport growing up except for softball, which is kind of funny because baseball is my favorite sport now. My brother played baseball. Like, that was his sport. I went to every single one of his travel ball games, and I remember driving all over the state.
What's his name?
Sitting in stands. It's Jonathan, but everyone calls him Johnny.
Gotcha.
Johnny Montaine. Is there a more, like, masculine athlete name? No.
Johnny Montaine.
Johnny Montaine.
Like, that could be WWE or, like,
literally
a lawyer I trust
my
life with him.
Well, you wouldn't trust him, but yes, the name, yeah. So I remember a lot of that, but not like one in particular memory stands out. I was just always around sports. Like, every day, every instance I could be. It's so funny now. Like, people will make TV references, and I genuinely cannot get them because growing up, I was never watching SpongeBob. I was never watching TV. Like, I was always outside playing some sort of sport or, like, makeup sport with my brother and all of the neighborhood kids. Like, that's just what we did.
See, there are benefits of not being an iPad kid.
Some might say. Some might say.
So, you were okay. So you went from engineering at UT,
yes,
Austin, to sports reporting. What's some of the wildest reactions you've gotten from somebody telling them that?
Oh gosh, the wildest. I think 95% of reactions just began with what? And then how? Like, there's always the genuine confusion of like, why? Like,
how did you do that?
For what purpose?
Right.
And I don't know if there have been any wild, like there were some that were very like, how's that pay cut? You know, like there's obviously a large difference, especially when you're younger and starting out in salary. But none like too crazy jump out in my memory. It's pretty much across the board the same reaction of just like, why did you do that? Like,
what about
and
your parents? What about your parents? Where they were like, you got into the engineering school and now you want to hold on now. And if you do a Google search with the salary thing that you're talking about, that kind of goes, but go ahead. What was their response from your parents?
My mom she's always been super supportive. She's like my best friend. I love her more than anything. And when I told her, I think she was just like, I think she didn't want me to do it because she knew how hard it would be, but she was still supportive, at least to my face.
Right.
My dad, we're still trying to get him on board. He was definitely, as any dad, practical dad would be, is like, the reason we encouraged you to get an engineering degree is because you can not just make a lot of money, but like be financially stable for the rest of your life.
Right.
And you know what? To his credit, like I did that. I started my career in that field. I took that route. And I'm really glad now that I did, because it gave me the perspective that like, this is never going to be it. And it's never going to be worth it no matter what the paycheck is. And he was not thrilled when I told him I was doing it. He was the one who was like, oh, you're taking a 6-figure pay cut. Are you kidding me? And like, we're not.
I'm going to have to foot the bill on that.
Yeah, he's like not thrilled about that. But I think he's coming around. We're working on it.
Well, I think just the jump that you had at Oklahoma, you spent, a couple of years covering Tulsa, including, OU and OSU. What is some of the crazy, coverage that you've had to do in Oklahoma? It's a completely different world up there.
It is, and it's ironic that I went to UT and their biggest rival, at least over the last decade.
Red River Showdown.
Yes. Their biggest rival is OU in every sport, not just football.
Right. No.
Softball, for instance, where the College Women's World Series was between those two teams. But it was just ironic that I went to UT and then I started my sports broadcasting career in the land of UT's biggest rival. Like that was always interesting. And especially because what I learned is like a lot of people that live in Oklahoma and go to OU or Oklahoma State, like most of them are from the state of Oklahoma. They bleed crimson and cream or, orange or black or whatever the Oklahoma State colors are. So I was very much so in enemy territory, like at all times. And I think probably one of the craziest experiences I had was being at the Red River game that you talked about in 2020. I get all the years mixed up. I think 2023 when it was the 49-0 shutout.
I was there.
Yeah. Being on the Oklahoma side for that, internally, I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Because I went to every game as a student and we weren't always on the winning side. Like I have traumatic experiences from going to Red River as a student at UT.
Yeah.
But being on the other side, like that was a crazy game because you can't really be a fan when you're in sports broadcasting. And I'm there covering Oklahoma, but internally I'm like, wait, yeah, this is awesome. So it's weird.
That's just got to be just so crazy. I actually went to boarding school in San Marcos area.
You did? Okay.
So kind of close to Austin, and did one of my first NIL deals at Texas. So I definitely got my love for Austin. Thank you for the chance. You guys took a chance on me. But you've covered everything from football to soccer to pro watercross. What is one sport you've tackled that made you think, wow, I didn't think I'd like this that much?
Probably pro watercross, which is basically like professional jet skiing. That was actually one of my earlier gigs too. I was freelancing for CBS Sports doing that event, or I did a couple. But that was one of the earlier times in my career journey where I realized like this for sure is what I want to do, because even with a sport like that, which it is, like they are professionals, they get paid, like these are big time events. I mean, they're on national networks. Crazy. And I didn't even know what it was prior to that. Like I did a lot of pro watercross / jet skiing research prior to that event. And I still had the best time. Like I was so happy to be there. I was doing live shots like in water, almost face planted, didn't though.
Good.
But yeah, that was probably one of the ones where I was like, I had no knowledge of it going in, and I still had the best time like doing the job, talking to the athletes who like base their lives on a sport like that.
Absolutely. You started kind of in the middle of 2020, right? Beginning of?
That's kind of when I made the decision. Yeah, I didn't like start really until 2021.
Gotcha.
Like getting
but
on
it's
air.
Still a little eerie feeling of COVID, and the stands were not as full. You're jumping into a career that is based on the atmosphere of the fans.
Yeah.
And they're not there.
Yeah.
And you took this chance, and now you're like, uh-oh. You know, it was so uncertain at that time. How did you kind of push through that and obviously see the other great side of it?
I think just the want to have this career. Like, I think a lot of people, I've wondered this myself. I'm like, is it a blessing or is it a curse that I've always known that this is what I want to do? Because I think some people wish they knew what they always wanted to do. And then some people who know what they want to do know how hard it is to do that thing. And so they don't have like the drive, the courage, whatever it is to go after it. For me, like being a sports reporter was always like the dream, like the end goal, the North Star, whatever. And so I think that drive and just that knowing that is what encouraged me or like helped me get through those days where it was like, this is super uncertain. It's still really uncertain if you look at the media landscape right now.
Seriously.
So that was probably what pushed me through the like empty stands. I was out literally in empty baseball fields with my little tripod, like
hi, welcome
making up games. Yeah, making up games. Yeah.
So going through that and making that decision and then, planting your foot pretty firm, is there any female reporters that you looked up to or kind of wanted to, have your own style, but say, hey, that person does it really well. I kind of want to look like that. Or when you were a kid, say, man, I remember watching that person on, WFAA or whatever the case may be.
I do have a one of the ones that stuck out. I vividly remember, I think I even know what she was wearing. It was Sam Ponder on an ESPN College Game Day, like Saturday.
Sam
Ponder.
Okay.
Or Sam Steele, I think was her maiden name, but Ponder's her married name. She was the ESPN like Sunday countdown host for the last like several years before this season. I remember seeing her on the TV, and I remember and I was young. I remember thinking like, how could you ever get that job? Like my parents didn't even tell me broadcast degrees were a thing.
Yeah.
Hence the, not getting one. But that was my one memory of like being super young and knowing that this is what I wanted. I always wanted to do that. As for who I think is really talented, I've always thought Jenny Taft is like one of the best. And she's also one of the most purest, kindest, like well-intentioned people probably on the planet. Mm-hmm. And I think Lauren Shahadi is one of the most talented and gifted and knowledgeable and unique host reporters. Like, I think she's in a league of her own.
Well, have you had a chance to work with her, or has she had a chance to, see how you work, or vice versa, or anything?
Shahadi?
Yeah.
No, I not yet. I mean,
not
maybe
yet.
one day.
Right.
But I just have watched a lot of. I mean, she obviously hosts MLB's like main weekday show, and then she'll do postseason coverage for both basketball and baseball. And I've just kind of more so watched her from afar and thought, like, she kind of jumps out at you, at least in my opinion, as someone who's just different. I think a lot of times, like, you'll hear the same questions asked, like post-game or pre-game. I feel like Lauren's always doing something unique.
Gotcha.
And I just really, she's one of the ones that kind of sticks out in my mind.
So talking about unique questions. You've interviewed a ton of athletes. You got to hang around a bunch of them on and off camera. What is the most unexpected thing you've had an athlete either rebuttal to your question, or when the camera turns off, they turn to you and say something that was either funny? Anything that comes to mind? I just kind of briefly scrolled through your Instagram as you think on that. Dak Prescott and things of that nature, and your finals run, and then your college football playoffs. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Just kind of, what is it?
One that sticks out. I would say I got the opportunity to interview a couple well-known golfers when I was in Tulsa.
Well-known as in, who are these people?
Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Ian Poulter was hilarious, as you might expect.
Right.
I think maybe my favorite was Dustin Johnson. Right?
Yeah.
This is DJ? Sorry.
Yeah.
That sounded like a NBA player there for a second. I was like, wait, did I just? And those guys, for being golfers,
they seem so calm and composed.
Right.
Right.
And to see a different side of them and just kind of ask him questions. Like, I remember asking Brooks something about his wife, like, who's the better driver, you or your wife? And he was like, oh, definitely me. He was like, I mean, I love her to death, but definitely me.
Yeah.
And those are some of the ones that jump out as like times where you're talking to these guys who make gazillions of dollars and are
Bryson, to be more specific, SMU grad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And Bryson is so thoughtful, like, in his answers and stuff. I mean, I think a lot of times guys can give like baked answers. I felt like
generic and broad.
Yes. And
so frustrating as
Bryson's,
a journalist.
Yeah, unique in that way that he'll give you something. But yeah, I would say those kind of jump out as some of the ones that are like more memorable.
Gotcha. So now that you're in Dallas with WFAA, you've got SMU, you got TCU, and then you got the ACC bid. What's your hot take on where college football playoffs are headed, and even basketball, ACC? SMU has just been an absolute monster with recruiting, monster with NIL, and TCU. It depends on who you ask who the little brother is. But
I know.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, on the college football playoffs specifically, this probably better than most people. Like, college athletics in today's age, like, is all about revenue. And the more money that they can get from playoff games, like, the more playoff games we'll see. So I expect it to continue to grow. I thought it was really interesting what we got in terms of the product on the field in this first year of the expanded playoff, because none of the games really were all that competitive, especially in the earlier rounds. Now, this is their first time doing a 12-team playoff, so, like, you're going to learn as you go. Right. And obviously seeding and matchups and things like that will probably be more thought out as we continue to see this type of playoff in the postseason. But no, I mean, I think, like, it's been known for a long time. Bowl games are more for the income off the field than for anything you see on the field. Like, people,
yeah, absolutely. It's not even for the dynamic plays. It's more of the viewership that it garners.
Right. And the sponsorships. Right. And so that's not the case with these playoff games. So the more playoff games that have implications, that have eyeballs on them because of, they actually matter when it comes to who's the winner and who's the loser. The more they can get those types of games, I think the more emphasis there will be on kind of creating more of that and less of just like these pointless bowl games. As far as like other sports go, I mean, basketball was like the pinnacle, right, of like a postseason tournament.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like the beauty of being here with SMU, TCU, and even like, UNT has been on the uptick in terms of
I worked with
basketball. I don't know the specifics, but like there are smaller schools, even Division II, Division III schools in this area that have been on the up climb. So I think it's different, right? Like, you can't play as many postseason football games as you can basketball games. Like, It's a different sport. But I think they're trying to do what they can in terms of taking the NCAA tournament from basketball and like leveraging the best parts about it in football and other sports.
Absolutely. And you got to host college football playoffs for UT. That's incredible. I don't think even somebody who doesn't know you, or maybe they do know you, how full circle that is.
That was crazy. It was, so I was there, like the Cotton Bowl, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl was who I was working for. So I was very much independent. I was wearing my blue. I was not hosting, in my burnt orange.
Sure.
But getting to host that game with so many, the coolest part for me was that there were so many people in the stands that I went to school with, that I knew from UT, whose like families knew me from UT, and the amount of pictures I was sent and like pictures I was tagged in and things like that. I had like people texting my mom that are from this area. We see Michelle. It was, you said it, it's full circle. Like, it was just, and what's funny, my dad went to Ohio State. So, and that's where, and he played football as like a college kid. So like, that's kind of where
so he played football at Ohio State?
Like back in the day. Yeah. But, exactly. So like, he's very in on, like what's going on. So it was really interesting that it was so full circle for me.
That's just got to be pretty wild. I remember, I think I shot you a DM because a fan.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? I should be better prepared.
No, it was a picture of me interviewing some fan doing like a Dr. Pepper trivia question. And it was, what was it? It was like, I feel like we have to.
I need to go. I need to be
funny.
better prepared. But
it was something about him. It was an Ohio State fan. He was saying that Columbus was the best state.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Columbus is a state now. And then I was like, maybe I shouldn't insult this poor fan as I'm interviewing in front of thousands of people. So I apologize for
Yeah, during the Cotton Bowl, I shot you a message. I was like, best part of the Cotton Bowl is when you said, well, I guess Columbus is a state now, and you just moved right on past it.
I was like, maybe I shouldn't roast this guy. Yeah.
I think that's so perfect, and I think as a reporter, as just somebody with a camera on, you got to think quick, or you're going to sink like in quicksand.
Yeah, 100%.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody whose dream of breaking into the sports world like you did, maybe even somebody who's not coming from the typical background like yours?
Well, if you are coming from a typical background, I would say don't get an engineering degree. That's for starters. I would say like be prepared to go through it. Like, it is such a competitive industry, and I think anyone will tell you that. People have made it, people who haven't, and the people that never did, who got out of the business. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. And I say that like all the time. It's funny. Haley Van Lith was talking the other day, Wednesday of this week.
TCU star point guard.
Yes.
By the way, she's making waves for TCU in women's sports. Just want to.
Yes. Team USA Olympic medalist, Haley Van Lith. She was like, people in the WNBA, because of the number of teams they have and the amount of talented female basketball players in this country and abroad, like, it is so competitive and it's so hard that you have to love it so much to be able to give to it every single day what's required of you in order to make it, because everyone else is giving that much. And while I have absolutely no business comparing myself to any WNBA player ever, because they are way more athletic than I am, I would say like some of that does translate to this business. Like, it's so competitive, and it requires so much of your time and energy and like of your life that like if you're gonna really go get into it and go after it, like you have to be willing to put in that level of effort and like dedication, sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, in order to get to ultimately like where you want to go.
Absolutely. I think starting out, Anthony, he's right behind the cameras, we would go on just multiple trips, not even knowing if things were going to come into fruition. And I would always tell him, just stick with me, brother. I know it's 105 and your camera's overheating and our batteries are dying. And I understand that. And hey, just hold on. Just keep it going. And he has absolutely stuck it out for me. But it is that kind of going into it with no real expectation other than I'm just happy that I am here right now.
Yeah.
So how I met you was through Jimmy. I saw you and Jimmy. Because XFL? Grenades?
Jimmy.
I think it's an XFL team. He was doing an internship with the Grenades.
Was he? Was it Jimmy? Did he live in Oklahoma City?
Let me just pull up a picture. It'd be a whole lot easier.
Okay.
D2 or D2110 Sports. Arlington Renegades. Does that sound familiar to you?
I know like what that is, but I was never with D210.
Huh. Okay. So I went on his pod, and then I think I saw you like in the story or something.
Okay.
And I was like, well, dude, I want to. Early in my career, I was like, dude, I'll do anything to interview like an XFL or just be on the field. And he's like, I'm just an intern. I have no power at all. But that's how I kind of got to know you just through his story.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: do you drink sparkling water?
I do.
Okay. So this is the Rambler section of the podcast.
Okay.
If you want to grab one,
all right.
Are you able to do this? I don't know if you have like
I got nothing working
perfect.
Here.
So
blackberry.
Now we got blackberry. So let's try it.
Okay. I'm a big sparkling water gal. So it's my first time drinking Rambler. Wow.
And it's from Austin, Texas.
And it's got the little, what is this, Lake Travis? You got the backdrop. I don't actually know if that's Lake Travis, but this is, oh my gosh, big fan.
It's not bad.
I'm not even a blackberry girl.
Yeah.
This is pretty good.
It's not bad.
Wow.
Shout out Rambler.
Yeah,
I appreciate the sponsorship. Thank you guys for loading us up. They have so many flavors. My favorite is blackberry, but they have lime, they got original, they have cherry, they got everything. I pick up at Central Market and HEB. So
Shout
get it
out
while
HEB.
you can. They're always moving product.
Yeah, it's cute too.
Let's see here.
Not that you're gonna give them a cute plug, but I will.
Do it.
They're cute.
So you jumped right into the Mavericks finals with Luka Doncic. They took him all the way to the finals. Can you tell me about that experience? You know where I'm going with it, but tell me about that experience with the NBA finals.
Do I know where you're going with it?
I don't know. Do you?
So my first day at WFAA was June 3rd. It was a Monday. My last day at my last place was May 31st, which was a Friday. Then it was June 1st was Saturday. June 2nd was Sunday. June 3rd is Monday. I'm starting my new job. And June 7th, which was a Thursday, was game 1 of the NBA finals. And luckily for me, Oklahoma City and Dallas had just played in the Western Conference finals. So I was a little bit familiar with their game, you know. And I mean, just covering the NBA in general, like you're aware of other teams and what they're doing. Maybe not following specific ones as closely, but like we had just played Dallas and that series was nuts. And the fact that Dallas took down what was a very good, young, but very good Oklahoma City team was like, oh, this team has a lot. Like, this could be a really special run for them.
I mean, they're one of the youngest teams in the NBA. Also has an MVP right now with Shy. So, keep going.
But, yeah, so anyways, I was, like, slightly familiar. But going from, like, tangentially watching them to then covering them in the finals, it's like, oh, I got some legwork to do. But, yeah, so basically my 4th day on the job, I was covering the NBA finals. And they were on ABC, which WFAA is an ABC affiliate. And so WFAA always does everything like to the max. It's a legacy station for a reason. We were doing a full 30-minute pregame with Hall of Famer Nancy Lieberman. Shout out. She is the GOAT. And then that was leading into like the NBA tip-off pregame show. And so it was just like, talk about jumping in freaking head first. Like
NBA finals.
Yeah. And then just to see the AAC in the, like, in the atmosphere that it was, like, that was just, it was crazy. Like, everything from day one, like, it was just, I knew that my debut was for game one, like, on air. Because usually when you start at a new television station, like, your first day, you get, like, your badge, your computer. You're not necessarily like, here's your, go anchor the show now, you know? But my, like, first day on air was game one of the NBA Finals. It was our pregame show. And it was just crazy. Like, there's no other word to describe it other than, like, I think I got like 100 Instagram followers within like 5 minutes of being on air, because it was just like so many people were watching. So many people were so excited about the Dallas Mavericks being in the NBA Finals. Obviously, they were up against it with one of the best teams ever, like the Celtics
Boston
team
Celtics.
being one of the best offensive teams like to ever play. But still, the fact that they were in it, like led by, like you said, Luka, it was just so cool to like walk right into that. And jump right in and really kind of like get my face out there as like part of Dallas's coverage for it.
That's just got to be, a dream come true. I'm really more of an NBA guy. Like, people who know me know that you will not outdo me in NBA, like analytic, just pure sports. You probably beat me in football and other sports, but it's just kind of like my main thing. So for you to just get hired and then immediately go into the NBA Finals is just, one, rare. Because Dallas, I think, had a 2% chance of making the NBA Finals that year.
Yeah.
And it was Luka's first Finals appearance. Seeing Luka and how he plays, that's at the time, he was 25 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, what the heck? That's just incredible. Is there ever been a time where you get to kind of set aside being a reporter and just kind of be in awe of greatness?
I was about to actually even say that, like, you get so accustomed to being credentialed to everything that, like, walking into an arena, while it never gets old to me, like, it never gets old. Like, I always am happy to be, like, on field level or on court level in an arena, because a lot of people don't ever do that. But it does become part of your everyday life. And as with anything, like, that can lose its lust and, like, its, like, specialness.
Yeah. It's just like when I'm hungry, that first slice of pizza is really good, and the second and third aren't as good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're still good, but like
still good, still paid for it, still gonna eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the NBA Finals was one of those experiences where it was like, no, like, this is different. This is really cool. Like, the people that were there, the feeling, like, there was a palpable electricity in that building. And then watching Luka, like, I think what made him so special and what's still making him special right now is, like, you can tell how much he cares with every dribble of the ball, with every pass, with every shot, with every mean mug, with every stare down. It's like, and he played with that. He played with that when they played in Minnesota. I mean, obviously the dagger step back three over Rudy Gobert. And then obviously led them to that series victory over Oklahoma City. And then even though they lost in 5 to Boston, like, you could just tell that it was Luka and the Mavs. And that's even with other guys, like, going off at different points in time. And I don't think you ever really take that for granted, to get to be in the presence of that. I mean, it's one thing to watch it on TV, but to be in the building where you are watching with your own eyes, and then you're feeling the stands shake because the AAC is literally going off. It's like, it's
incredible.
Crazy. Yeah, you don't take those moments for granted. And even while you're there, like, working, like, I was finding myself, like, smiling and, be like, ultimately we're all fans at heart. Like, you don't get into this profession if you don't love sports. And that's what's the best part of sports.
You're at the pinnacle.
Yeah.
You're at like the heartbeat, the nucleus of sports like that. Is there any athlete that, obviously you're a fan, but you're a journalist. So you're just a fan of the whole process. Is there any athlete or event that you're looking forward in 2025?
event. What's coming up this year? I know in 2026 we have the World Cup here, and that's going to be awesome.
It's gonna be killer. Where is that? And that's in Dallas?
It's in different cities across the US, but Dallas is hosting some of the games kind of leading up. I would say 25, honestly, with what the Stars just did today.
Oh yeah. Tell us what the Stars did today.
I can't pronounce the names. I need to look, and I need a
right.
guide.
This thing.
Yes. Jim Nill, their general manager, just acquired, or he made a trade before the deadline to get one of the best players from Carolina and brought him here.
Yep.
Which will just make a Stars team that's been really good as of late even better. And I just saw something as I was driving here about like the idea of trading for a absolute guaranteed win now player and giving up the idea of some prospects that may or may not pan out, which I think was at the core of the deal.
Yep.
I need to like read more into it, but I would say honestly, if the Stars make another deep run, like that's probably something I'm really excited to cover, because living so close to the American Airlines Center, like even last night, I mean, there were so many people there just for a normal like regular season game on a Thursday night, and the AAC was packed. And people love the Stars in this town. Like, I have heard from people across the country that Stars games are some of the best NHL games to go to of any team, which is funny because it's like you don't think Texas and hockey in the same breath. So I think if they get back to the Stanley, or if they get to the Stanley Cup final, that would be a really fun event to cover. Absolutely.
Well, you're talking about trades for soccer. In Dallas, we've had a trade. The Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. What was your initial reaction to that? Obviously, you're very bipartisan to this, but you got to see that young man take you to the NBA Finals on the first day of the job, just like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's got to kind of pull your heart a little bit out.
He was just so
Love Anthony Davis, by the way.
Yeah. And actually, his cousin's... Hold on, what is this? My hairdresser is like his cousin's sister or something.
Okay.
Anyways, she's like, not close, but like literally related somehow to him. We were just talking about that last week. So like, and I think he was really not, I think when you're traded, like people talk about trades when it comes to sports, professional sports, so transactionally. These are human beings. And no matter like how great you are, if you are blindsided in the way that Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and Luka Doncic were blindsided by that trade, like it's gonna affect you in one way or another as a human being. Like there is a part of rejection in that. Like the Lakers gave up Anthony Davis. And so I say all of that. I think he was excited for a chance to come here and like really kind of be a presence in Dallas.
LA star,
right?
Huge,
but like, behind LeBron James, always.
Always.
And here he wasn't going to be behind anyone. I mean, Kyrie is a star in his own right, but anyways, I think Anthony Davis was excited for a chance to be here. On the other side of that, I just don't. I mean, it has been over a month since it happened, and it is still the most talked about thing in sports right now. We had Mark Cuban on WFAA last night, and it went crazy because people are still... Mark Cuban did not associate with the Mavericks anymore. I mean,
5%.
Right, but like not making this decision.
Right. He is not a majority stakeholder anymore.
Yes.
Right.
But, it's just like people still can't fathom it. And I think ultimately, like you said, does it pull at your heartstrings? It does from like a personal, like, I can't imagine feeling what they're feeling. But from a purely like
human
logical standpoint, I still think that so many people are trying to grapple with why.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that'll just, through time, I think will help you understand a lot, because nobody really understands what because next year Luka was going to be the highest paid NBA player, period. He was going to be the highest paid. It would be the biggest supermax contract of the modern era. I don't think people understand the financials of that, and it's easier to say, go ahead and pay the man, sure. But was there a time where you found yourself, after you covered a game, saying, I don't remember any of that? I say that because sometimes when I'm in the atmosphere or I'm shooting a podcast, it's like this blackout moment where you don't remember what's going on. I remember I would close a podcast and then I'd say, guys, how'd I do? And they're like, you just did it. What do you mean? You did great. I'd be like, I don't remember.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. 100%. Luka said that exact thing after his Lakers Mavs game. Right after he played the Mavs for the first time, he was like, I honestly don't even know what just happened.
He said, I'm ready to go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's totally normal. And for me, I feel like those games happen, especially like with bigger games, or those experiences happen with bigger games. But I don't know, like even I guess smaller ones, like especially like when I was in Tulsa, I did all of the ESPN Plus like live game broadcasts for men and women's basketball, softball, like some of their soccer, and those games, like you're just in the moment so much that when it's over, you're like, what just happened? What did I say? What did I do? Did I sound like an idiot? Probably. But what did I do? What just came out of my mouth? Like you're so in the moment that it's like, I don't know. It's like your brain's in like another world.
Sure. I'm sure that fan can relate whenever they said Columbus is the best state.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sure they were just like, camera,
Yeah.
nice girl interviewing me. I'm just going to say something,
Yes. Yeah.
I know we're just kind of jumping back on, and we were talking about, you were going to ask me some questions. You asked me.
Professional interviewer here.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, this is your pod now. Yeah, now it's her pod. Now it's legal, or now it's her pod.
NIH.
NIH. You asked me who my favorite team was, and I said Lakers, and you said
yeah.
Just start taking from the top.
okay.
Are you afraid to share?
No,
who your
I'm
favorite
not
NBA
afraid.
Team is?
No, I'm perfectly fine. I'm a big Laker fan. I got like a huge Kobe Bryant tattoo. I'll
We need
show
to
you.
see it. We need to see it.
Yes.
Kobe Bryant tattoo. Oh my gosh. That's insane. How much did that hurt?
Actually, so my whole chest is done. That hurt way more than.
What is your chest? The Lakers crypto arena?
No, it's like paratroopers and planes and clouds.
Oh my gosh.
My grandfather was a paratrooper, but crypto arena sounds really sick.
Also really painful.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a Bitcoin logo in the middle of my
Yeah,
chest
right.
like Iron Man. The LeBron chosen one.
Yeah, you got Kobe. No, this one needs to be LeBron.
Oh man, the glazing is crazy.
Good thing you didn't get AD on there.
Oh, that would have been tough. That would have been really tough.
Yeah.
I think I'd get Smoothie King Arena before I get Anthony Davis. I like Smoothie King more than I like Anthony Davis.
Oh God. Well, you and probably a lot of other people in this town right now.
Exactly. So you grew up in San Antonio with your family.
Yep.
I'm going to ask some family questions.
All right, family. They'll appreciate that.
So can I ask for your mom and dad's name?
Mom is Beverly. Don't call her Bev. She gets upset. It's Beverly. I'm like, all right, Bev.
All right, Bev.
Yeah, literally. That's when I'm mad at her. Bev. And my dad is John. And I have an older sister, an older brother than me. And it's Jackie, Jonathan, and me. I'm like, we just ran out of J names or what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's John is my dad, Jackie my sister, Jonathan my brother, Michelle.
All right.
Don't understand.
Who's the toughest on you and your family, like critiquing you? Like one's going to say, oh, good job, good job doing that. And one's going to be like, yeah, that was good, but here.
None of them critique me like when it comes to sports broadcasting, which is, you don't normally say like my dad is the toughest on me in general. Like, do your taxes and be a better person and make sure you're, reading the Bible, things like that.
Sure.
My mom, I mean, I could literally stand up there and flubber about, and she'd be like, "It was so good, honey. I love you so much." Like without fail, this is interesting. I was just reading Zach Martin's Player Tribune letter, and he said that his dad wrote him a letter before every single game he played, starting with like his, I think, high school career, maybe middle school. I don't know. Maybe it was college. I don't know. But my mom is the same way with, like, if I'm on air, she does not miss sending me a text afterwards that says, like, "You were great, honey. So beautiful. Love you so much." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I look horrible. I sounded bad. I messed up 8 words. And, like, I didn't even barely get through it. But thanks, Mom. You know?
Yeah.
So she's the opposite of toughest critic. My dad doesn't know enough to, and, like, he would never dare be like,
sit up straight or something.
Yeah, like
what about when
fat.
What about sports? When you were playing sports, you played a lot of sports.
Oh, my dad was, I mean, he had
freak.
me to the freaking neighborhood basketball court. I mean, no matter if it was 25 degrees out, it doesn't get that cold in San Antonio, but like 35. We would be on the basketball court practicing. I mean, he was always on me about getting better. And he was the same way with grades. Like, I was a straight A student because I had no other choice.
Dang, you're a straight A student? High school?
Yeah. High school, yeah.
And college?
No. Physics at UT will ruin your life.
Well, they won't even let me in. So
well, it's getting that way.
yeah.
But no, he's always been that person. And I think he would do it with me on TV, but he knows I get a lot of critiques from, like, strangers and other random people that he doesn't want to add on.
Yeah. Speaking on that, have you ever gotten, like, maybe, people are starting to get to know your face and just you being on TV more? Like, I saw you WFAA when I was, like, getting coffee. I was like, oh, yeah,
get her off
wow,
there.
This is crazy. What do you do when somebody who is literally ineligible to critique you on who you are and what you do and how you present it critiques you and wants to try to be the 101 for you? How do you take that? What do you do with it? I'm sure other women get the same BS.
Yeah.
Curious.
I mostly just try to ignore it. Like, I think last week there was something about I was wearing too much white. Didn't you know that you can't wear white until whatever, Labor Day or Memorial, whatever the day is? You can't wear white after Labor Day. And I was like, winter whites, come on.
Yeah.
Like, give it.
What are you doing? Did I look good? Okay,
yeah.
then done.
But for the most part, I will say I get more positive stuff than negative, but I've gotten my fair share of negative, and those are of course, like, those are the ones you remember and the ones that stick out. Some have been, like, really cruel sounding, and you're just like, what does it take for you to, like, feel that you should send that to someone else? But that's for anyone who is in any profession or in any platform that's visible to other people. Like, high school athletes get hate mail and stuff like that. Male, female, whatever. And so what I try to do is just, best I can, like, literally block it out. Like, consider the source, realize that opinion is not one that you need to put any sort of energy into.
I love that.
And then just try to forget about it, because
just shrug it off.
What else? Yeah. Like, what good is it going to do to harp on any sort of, there's enough negativity that, like, comes from fear and things that are internal that, like, you don't need external negativity adding to that.
Right. What would you tell to some girls who may look up to you, or young girls who maybe are in college right now pursuing sports broadcasting and they're not in engineering? What would you tell them to maybe just keep going in such a it's pretty 50-50 with the male to female sportscasting, so it's very competitive and not heavily saturated. It's pretty hand-picked from what I can see. What would you tell some girls watching who want to be Michelle?
I would say, like, the more quickly you realize, like, what it is specifically that you want to do, the better off you are kind of just going after that. And what I mean by that is, like, if you know that football is the one sport you want to cover and you want to be either a college football sideline reporter or an NFL, like, show host or something like that, or an NFL play-by-play person, like, whatever it is that you want to do, if you know what that is early on, like, do your best to craft like your content and like your effort and the time you spend on this job like to that sport, because I think that that's where a lot of females have a disadvantage, like just flat out. Like we didn't play football for the most part. I didn't play baseball. I didn't even play softball. Basketball is obviously one that's a little bit more like balanced, but there are still differences between the men and the women's game. And same with soccer. I think having those just like natural disadvantages, like you still are expected to know what you're talking about. And I think a lot of people look to like sports content creators, like whether that's a reporter, a host, an analyst, whatever, to learn things that they don't personally already know about the game and or the team. And so the more you can like know yourself and like not educate, but like inform, enlighten, whether that's like in a funny way or like a serious way or a statistical way, like just kind of making yourself as knowledgeable and like in tune with whatever sport you really know that you want to go after. The earlier you do that, the better. That's what I would say.
Love that. And what's been a moment for you where you felt like, oh, I messed up, there's no going back, or because I think mistakes along the way are obviously, I'm not going to paint a picture of my mistake on my social media, but I think it's huge part of crafting your style and how you do things. Like you just got to mess up. So I think maybe our generation would say, if I try something, I fail, I'm done with it. And that's where the drive comes, and that's where that kicks in. But for somebody who's, it was a story where you just kind of messed up and you had to keep chugging. Chugging sparkling water. No. Sorry.
Go Rambler.
Go Rambler.
Wow, there have been a couple times. Honestly, like one mistake that comes to mind immediately is just like when covering something that's like dark or like really upsetting. I remember when DeMar Hamlin went down. That was a Monday Night Football game, I'm pretty sure, in Cincinnati.
Yes,
between the Bengals and the Bills, and it was on ABC. And so, like we were coming out, like the late 10 o'clock show or whatever was starting after the game ended, and prematurely reporting things that you don't know. Actually, you know what? Even this is a great example. Great as in horrible, like mistake, but a good example for your question. When the Luka trade happened, we went basically like not essentially wall to wall, but we were covering that from like morning, like whatever, 11:15 p.m. I was on a live show reaction show at 11:30, got off of that at 1:30. I was in the studio by 3:30 for our morning show on Sunday morning. Like we went all out for that. And I remember being asked on our morning shows, the 8 o'clock morning show, like, do you think Mark Cuban would have made this trade? And we had already gotten word from Mark Cuban that he had no part of the transaction. But in like what I should have said was, look, it's a fair question to ask, but I'm not going to speculate. Like, I don't know for a fact whether Mark Cuban would or wouldn't have made this trade, so I like can't speak to it. I can provide like what I think.
Yeah, I can spectate.
Right.
Like you.
But I don't have any insight as to whether or not he would have. So, but I didn't say that at the time. I was like, no, I can't really see him making a trade like this based on how he acted when he did manage the personnel on this team. But that's a learning experience where you're like, all right, well,
won't do that.
I'm not gonna do that again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And he came out later on talking about, I would divorce my wife before I traded Luka. Then he said I had nothing to do with it. They didn't even tell me about it. He kind of came out and spoke on it. I actually went to Richardson, Texas, where he spoke with Bill Gates and Mark Cuban. I saw that, and he says it was like day 3. And Mark hadn't come out saying anything at all yet. He's like, I know what y'all want to hear. I'm just pretty upset right now, but this is Bill's time,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine a scenario where you trade a player like that. And I think I'd give a little bit more draft capital. I think I'd shop around. But one, I've never been an NBA GM, never been employed by the NBA or any professional league. So
Yeah.
what do I know? I don't know the financials. I know the salary cap. I
Yeah.
know what's public knowledge, but I don't know
Yeah.
the
Inner workings.
no,
Yeah.
and it is all speculation. But where do you think you would be if you didn't choose sports? Engineering or
That's a good question. I don't know. Like I graduated with an engineering degree and then I went straight into management consulting. And anyone who's been in consulting knows that it's normal to work an 80-hour week in consulting.
Very normal.
So I started out in that and I worked my way up, rather quickly, and that was going very well for me. So I'm not sure if I would still be doing that or if I would have jumped into something different by this point. But I don't know where I would be. I would probably still be in consulting, but wishing that I wasn't. Wishing that I was in sports.
Sure. No, that's really a good place to be. And same for me. Someone was like, well, why do you do this? And I was like, it's just a vessel of communication. It's it's where you find your happiness and you love what you do. This don't feel like work.
Yeah.
But did you have a favorite player growing up at all? In any sport?
Randomly enough, my favorite player was Roger Clemens. I know.
That is
randomly enough. I don't know why. I just remember thinking that he was so strong and good at what he did. And like I said, baseball's my favorite sport. So growing up, we would always, and he was with the Astros at the time. When I was basically introduced to him, I think I remember watching him pitch at Minute Maid when I was I don't know, 7 or 8. And I think a lot of kids have that one time you saw someone in person and you held on to that freaking 5-minute time in your life for the rest of your life. But he sticks out as one of my favorites. And then now I think the more you get to know players as people in this profession, like Dak Prescott is genuinely one of the best human beings. And I know he gets a lot of hate, especially in this town for whatever postseason performance.
It's never going to be an easy job to be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the job.
Yeah.
I'd say draft me somewhere else because there's so much heat. You do good, you're if you can't do well, you're the worst person in the world.
Yeah. But that's just being around him kind of tangentially, but he's just so I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I think just some players that are really, really special human beings become almost a fan of them as people because they're just good people.
Absolutely. I think just in the business of sports and everything, I initially created my business with college athletes, not because I like college sports. I got it because I saw the opportunity and I was friends with most of them.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I didn't even know how many players were on a football field. Seriously. Probably not something I should tell people, but
6 years ago.
Yeah, it's in the past.
People change.
I'm better now.
Yeah.
I always ask people, well, are you talking about special teams or,
Yeah.
I try to get around it. But it's just all about the relationships that you build and going on to relationships. I think it's easy for you to say that it's the relationships in this business that get you, where you need to be. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Can you tell how you've been able to, use pre-existing relationships and how you've been able to kind of cultivate, the want for Michelle, for people to want you to work with them and everything?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say it's more so in this industry than any other, but it kind of feels like it's more so in this industry than any other. The way you get jobs, the way you find out about jobs, the way you get opportunities is all through word of mouth. Like, it really, I know legally, like, sometimes jobs have to be posted or whatever, but think about, like, the lead sideline reporter for Fox NFL Sunday. Like, the people who occupy that job right now are Tom Rinaldi and Aaron Andrews. That's not exactly a job you're going to find on Indeed.com, you know?
I don't think so.
And so I say all of that because, like, to even be considered for a job like that, and not even, that's top of the line, but, like, even, you know, jobs in smaller markets that aren't national network jobs, like, it's finding out about those jobs and then being recommended for them or whatever. Like, all of that goes through word of mouth. And it's all based on not just who you know, but who knows you and the reputation and the brand that surrounds you. And so it's so important in today's world, like, to be really cognizant of the brand you're putting out there, the way you represent yourself when you're interacting with the PR people, with the athletes, with the coaches, with the front office members. Like, be cognizant of the things that you're saying online and things like that, because this business is fully built on relationships. Look at the trade that was just made between Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison. What was that based on? Their relationship of decades worth. And so, and that's one just like recency bias example. But yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to make this jump to, like, whatever, a top 4 market in a matter of a couple years is because of the relationships I built when I was starting out and my intentionality behind continuing to, like, always be networking, and not so much in a sense that's like I need to get something out of this networking, but more like
plant a seed.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to, like, make other people aware of, like, who I am, yes, but, like, what I can bring to the table, what I can do for them.
Absolutely. I think it's all about interpersonal relationships. You seem to have a really good understanding of that, seeing the way your career has just really excelled. And is there anything that you would, if you know, WFAA or Oklahoma or Tulsa, just what would you say to them, either a thank you or if they were watching, like, hey, you know, I really appreciate this, or a moment?
The news director in Tulsa taking a chance on someone who literally had no local television experience. I had a reel and I had freelance opportunities and I had legitimate things on my resume, but for my first full-time job to come, you know, at an ABC affiliate, and all I had was an engineering background and consulting background, like, that's a huge chance to take on someone.
Sure.
And it's so funny. Like, the 2 years and 6 weeks that I spent in Tulsa were some of the most challenging that I've ever, like, lived through. But now that I'm not there, I look back on it and I'm like, I'm so appreciative of all the things that I was able to do while I was there. And it was, like, super hard, and I was like, am I gonna make it? Blah blah blah. I still have those doubts and fears, like, every day. But I have such a different, I see Tulsa in such a different light now that I'm not there, and I'm really appreciative of the time and the chance that I got to be there.
Absolutely. It's just you just took one chance right after another, and it seems to pay off. I can tell you that sometimes you can take a chance and it doesn't pay off at all.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I was doing, like, I've literally done free work.
Yeah.
Since forever.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Like, just because you pay me $20 in a Subway sandwich, that's free work to me. You know what I mean? Like, I really got to show up and love it.
Yeah.
Can you speak on? You talked on Bryson DeChambeau and SMU. You got Kevin Jennings. You got Brashard Smith. You got Rhett Lashley. You got Coach Likens. You got whole SMU shifting that culture, making great NIL plays, making other universities like UT stand up and say, "Oh, we better get on our high horse, or SMU is gonna, pony on through our roster and the transfer portal." What's your whole thought behind, just the way Dallas more specifically SMU sports is going and the trajectory?
Well, they are they have a history of being one of the most prominent, at least football programs in the country, which helps. Never hurts. Never hurts to have a good history.
Track record.
Yeah, good track record. And I think what's really unique about what's happening at SMU right now is they're fully leveraging the fact that they're in one of the biggest metroplexes in the country. And you have Dallas, like, you're not downtown, but you're practically downtown. You're in one of the best parts of Dallas.
You're 3 minutes from Tom Ford via the stadium.
Literally.
That's crazy.
You have everything at your fingertips, and they have resources that a lot of schools wish they had. And I think they're just doing a really good job of tapping into those and leveraging them. I remember Kevin Jennings telling me the story about how Rhett Lashley found him. And it was interesting. I interviewed Preston Stone before this year started because he had all the expectations on him, and he's a local kid. And then, obviously, another local kid from South Oak Cliff gets the chance to be QB1 midway through the season. And I remember him telling us the story about, like, Lashley was there at I think it was a state championship game to watch another kid.
Yes.
And he just so happened to be like, oh, that guy's pretty good. And then what did he do? He led them to a college football playoff berth, And so I think, but let's not lose sight of the fact that their volleyball program also just had one of the best seasons in its history.
Absolutely. Killing, like, all competition, like, reaching AP polls for the first time in since the 80s.
And their volleyball head coach is, again, like I talk about good people, like she's one of those people that being in her presence and just listening to her speak for 5 minutes, you're like, whoa, I see why people get behind you. And I think really good coaches have that ability. So like I said, I think SMU is only on the climb. Did they not just take Jay Hartzell from UT? Didn't he
I was just about to talk about that.
Didn't he just move on up here?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing everything right now. And the fact that they're in a Power 4 conference is only going to help them continue to propel this program to new heights.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of old news, but $100 million in a week after they got the ACC bid. This is before when they were in the American Conference.
Yeah.
$100,000 raised by the alumni.
Yeah.
Just absolutely coming through and, really turning over their roster and doing that. But I want to touch on Preston Stone. You said you interviewed him early. Love that guy, by the way. God-fearing, great young man, great family. What was your, initial reaction to the QB switch? Because I have such a love for Preston, and I got a lot of love for Kevin. But, you kind of fall in love with who's out there. So...
I think it was probably really tough for both of them. Like, it's an uncomfortable situation. I thought it was really a stand-up of Rhett Lashley to come out here and just say it. Like, hey, Kevin Jennings is going to be our quarterback from now on. Like, I think he gives us the best chance to win. When I talked with Preston, he was, like you said, Godfrey, like, he was such a good, genuine, and, like, personable guy that you could, and he cares so much about this university. I found it interesting that both of them chose to stay home and go to their hometown school when they had opportunities to go elsewhere. And like you said, you kind of just want to root for the guy who's out there. I don't know what the conversations were like between the two of them, but it takes a lot of courage to be the starting quarterback at a Power 4 university. It takes a lot of courage to also be benched and still be willing to be supportive of the guy who just took your job. And I think the only way Jennings was able to do what he did is because he wasn't constantly looking over his back. Because
am I about to get pulled?
Yeah. And so, I've never lived through that situation, but you have to know, it's not comfortable for either of them.
No. No. And like you said, Preston decided to stay home, but he got offers from Alabama, LSU, Notre Dame, just premier schools decided to stay home, even when they were at that American Conference and they're playing teams like UTEP and UNT and Tulsa, great schools, just not as many eyeballs on it. You talked about baseball. I know you love baseball, so we're going to talk about baseball.
Okay.
who have you talked to in baseball that you kind of really like learned to love, and especially with just having an affection for a sport and then being able to report on it? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for baseball season.
Who have I talked to baseball that I love? Probably everyone I've talked to. You know who I think doesn't get enough love is minor league managers. Scott Hennessy was one of the Drillers managers in Tulsa, and he is, like, still to this day one of my favorite people. You know, those guys, to manage at the minor league level in towns and cities that not everyone can even acknowledge our towns and cities, takes a love for the game, unlike I think a lot of people have a love for anything. And he imparted so much wisdom, not just about like the players that I would ask him about, but like the game itself. And if I ever had questions where I was like, wait, why would you tell a pitcher to like use this sequence when you're facing like this specific batter? Like things that I just didn't know, like he would take the time to educate me on. So he's one that jumps out. Talked to Marcus Semien, I think on his birthday last year, and they were already like out of playoff contention at that point, and he was still just so like kind and willing to talk. And sometimes I think as media, like I feel bad because I feel like a nuisance sometimes talking to guys who like their priority is baseball, winning, postseason, etc. Their priority is not talking into a microphone, you know?
Right.
And so for them to still do it, like I have an appreciation for that. But yeah, I think for the most part, like why get excited for this season? I mean, the Rangers, I think, have a really good chance to be a dark horse contender. Not even a dark horse. Like they have one of the best lineups, at least in, you know, their league. And I think they have a lot of potential, especially if they can stay healthy.
Were you there for the no, not for the World Series? But you were watching.
I was. Oh yeah, I was watching.
And did you ever think I really want to be out there right now?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about Yeah. It's funny, WFAA, a couple of our anchors got pictures with the World Series trophy, and I'm like, it's a cute picture.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of my own.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the same way whenever you were doing the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
So I guess we're
we get it.
Touche. But talking about appreciation, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day, traveling up here, and shooting this podcast with me on Now It's Legal. I don't think you realize how grateful I am that you came on, and you're such a great speaker. I already knew that. You have a great personality, and you made this podcast that much better. And you're one of my favorite guests so far. So
wow, thank you. I told you I was honored to come on. Now I'm even more honored.
Well, it's been great. If you have anything else to tell the cameras, what you got going on, or what you want people to look out for, or just anything at all. This is
the
it.
chance.
Open floor.
I would say just stay tuned to Gray Bell's episodes as they come out.
You know it. Yes, sir. All right. Now It's Legal podcast with Michelle. Thank you so much. And guys, if you're drinking Rambler. All right. Now It's Legal podcast. Thanks.